Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I know that, I want to thank the Minister for bringing a bill on this important matter. However, when we are dealing with important matters, we must not get emotional, because the decision we take, like for example, and I know we are all desperate for solutions, and it is this very desperation that is going to lead us down the wrong track. If you look at the definition of what we mean by terrorism in the Act, when I look at this definition, I can tell you right now that if the university students protested tomorrow on the street, they would qualify as a terrorist group under this definition. The students at university would qualify under this definition. We have to be responsible. You may like defining when something you may mean by terrorism, then let's define it properly. In this definition, I don't see tribal warlords being mentioned here. Our problem is with tribal warlords and organized gangs in a particular part of Papua New Guinea. Why don't we, Minister, I urge you, why don't you add that definition in here? Let's be specific. Amending past 10. Let's target the groups that we know are causing problems. No can put in one broad definition where right now, any of our student groups, they qualify as a terrorist group based on this definition. Now, I'm not going to stand here and support a new law that could endanger university students or trade unions for that matter. I don't think that's good enough. Who drafted this thing? How? Were enough groups consulted? Did we consult, for example, the trade unions in drafting this law? Who was consulted? Were the police consulted? Were senior policemen consulted in drafting this? Or did we just get a group of members of parliament, you may sit down and you may draft in this one? We've got to be responsible in managing a country. Leaders, this is not a tucker box we are running. Me porati alo passive kind law where you could, it's up to the minister to determine who is an authorized officer. My God, that's the second problem with this. You should take out members of parliament, politically influenced persons, entirely out of this bill. The police commissioner should not be taking instructions from anyone. These are fundamental principles of law in a democratic country. We already know that Commissioner Manning is heavily politically influenced. We know that already. That's not good enough. He needs to be protected from political influence. You don't legislate political influence into a law. If you really seriously want something like this, then make it independent. Larin decision staff law, hand law, commander law, defense force now, police commissioner. Let them make the decision. They're the experts. With great respect to the minister, who I think is a good minister, he is not qualified as a law enforcement officer. Now, what happens if we decide to appoint a bus driver as a police commissioner, police minister? Are we going to hand this power of appointment to such an individual? I think that's irresponsible. We can't design a law and build in a flaw. That's irresponsible. Deputy Speaker, I want to support a law that actually will give us results. And let me ask another question. The thing we need to deal with the terrorists that are operating up in some of our parts of the country are special units and special training. The United States have been offering us special training at Quantico for our officers. Are we taking up those offers to have our people trained in some of the best places in the world? Amaspla, policeman or defense force officers, you misalim go Peninsula America, no kizim this training. Or by me passing law past them now. Behind you me by thinking whether we send our people there or not. I think one of our primary roles as legislators is to ensure the correctness of laws, number one. And number two is to ensure that we protect some of the rights and freedoms that people currently employ. The simple reason being that, you know, if you get a dictator in the seat of the Prime Minister, he could use this law and the opposition could qualify as a terrorist group under this definition as well. We qualify as a terrorist group right now. And I say again, Papua New Guineans are watching all of us on camera. They're watching us. So I urge us to be cautious. Yes, we are desperate for solutions. Nobody can deny that. You may all gotta like in solution law or law and order problems, but when it comes to terrorism, let's clearly define it so we know who this law targets. If we are going to target tribal warlords up in the highlands, organized gangs, then let's have that in the definition in section 2. Rausin this broad definition you like got where you can apply it to any group right now and be specific with it, so that there is no confusion as to what we mean when we talk about a terrorist organization. The next thing is that we've spent what, 400 million so far building the capacity of the police force. What are the results of that really? And we have another budget coming up, and I'm sure we're going to spend at least another 200 or 300 million, judging from the conversations that the government has been having. Surely we should show some results from the money we've already spent. I have not seen one toya of that money spent in Isipik to support my police officers. I have 160 policemen policing a province that's bigger than Israel in size. How am I supposed to do that? Maybe two provincial government support him, but the simple equation is that we don't have manpower. Time you to kina for kina, Isipik provincial government put him down 12 million kina, na mibla wait in national government lokang partner lo kina for kina. Mibla no looking mabla kina. Okada kina mas go away ating hasta you may him samlay kisina. Samlay nogat. So Police Minister, with great respect, I think you need to do a little bit more work. Now don't just come to us with a bill that is quite vague in some of its descriptions that could really qualify anyone as a terrorist. Especially a lot of us sitting in the room and those who are in civil society. But at the same time, you know, you've had 400 million or whatever number of extra money that's been given to the police force in the last 2 years. Surely you could have built special units, armed them properly. I see nothing here that authorizes specific tools for the special units of police or defense force who are going to actually go and operate. I think they should be specified in here. What sort of weapons, what sort of tactical gear, what sort of, are we going to give them drones, helicopters? There's got to be a specific thing in here that authorizes them how to operate these machines. You mean Nogatia, Mr. Speaker? Mr. Speaker, the point being, this bill authorizes the use of lethal force within our boundaries. And that's not a matter that should be taken lightly, whether by the defense minister or the police minister. It authorizes lethal force in the country. Surely, all got a member of the parliament, all need law. He got one blood neck inside law displa. Toko right long use him lethal force law country blowing how that force is supposed to be used. And that's not clearly defined here. It gives them huge latitude as to how they want to use these powers. And I think every member of parliament should be concerned about it. Yes, I want to see the terrorists taken down, especially these warlords that are targeting young women and girls. I've spoken on the floor about that, but I want to see you all do a good job of it. Don't bring in a half-baked law that is all over the place. Now suppose you may pass him. My goodness, we don't even know if the police have the ability to operate this law. Law province Blomi, Police arrested 890 people and charged them, put him on Lokarabus in the last 6 months. I had a good member for Wabek say, not one single person has been arrested in his province. How is that possible? How is that possible? And you are bringing a law where I think should target people in his province, operators in his province. What gives the police special ability to make the arrest that they can't do now? What in this law gives them that ability? What special tools? Nothing. And you remember passing law Tasona, you may remember but feel good or say, yes, we've passed another law. But then we are going to wait and then we are going to complain again 6 months later that nothing is happening. I don't think that's good enough. So respectfully, Mr. Deputy Speaker, me request of him, Minister, withdraw him this bill, go back now. Do some work on it and give us some background as to why it is you want to do things like this. Don't just bring the law. Give us the background to it. And then come and ask for the leaders of Papua New Guinea to give you the authorization so you can operate with the little force you need to bring safety and security to our vulnerable communities. But before that, you need to make some amendments to this bill, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Thank you.